Okay, so with this question, it's always best to know what the factors of root 72 are. So if we quickly list some of the factors, so we could obviously say root 1 times root 72 would give us root 72. We could go again, we could think about if we did root 2, so root 2 multiplied by root 36, and so on. So you could take your time, you could list those factors and you will get the following list. Now, once you've done that, look at the list and see if any of those match up with the ones we're looking for. So root 1 times root 72 is not on there. Root 2 times root 36 is not on there, but the root 36 could be broken down further. We know that's 6, so that is going to be the same as 6 times root 2, which is 6 root 2, and that is on the list. Next we've got root 3 times root 24, and that is on the list if we look. So we'll quickly highlight that. Then we've got root 4 times root 18. Now that's not on the list, but if we think about what we know about root 4, we know the square root of 4 is 2. So that's just 2 root 18. 2 root 36 from the question, it can't be the case because we've said that's root 2 times root 36. And the final 136 can't be right because the square root of 72 isn't 36. So on to the second question then, we're just going to quickly do a bit of a recap in terms of our understanding of power. So if we do a to the power of negative 2, that is going to be exactly the same as 1 over a squared. So that's just to remind you of the effect of a negative indices. So think of a number example, 3 to the negative 2 is going to be exactly the same as 1 over 3 squared, and obviously then you would be able to find a number example for it, so that would be just 1 over 9. So let's go back to the question then. We've got 64 to the power of negative 2 and a third, so in effect that would just make it 1 over 64 to the power of 2/3. So we can circle that first one so we know that's the same. Now before we can move on to the second part, we need to understand the effect of an indices to a fraction. For example, a to the half, anything to the power of half is the square root of it. So if we do anything to a third, that's going to be the cube root of that number. So for example, if we had to do 9 to the half, that's going to be the same as the square root of 9, which would just be 3. Now if we look at a to the power of 2/3, that's going to be the same as the cube root from the third, so we find the cube root, but then we've got to square it. So if we go back to the question we're trying to answer, 1 over 64 to the power of 2 and a third is going to be the same as the cube root of 64, that's the third part, and then we have to square that value. So the answer to that question, if we quickly work it out, is going to be 1 over, so the cube root of 64, what number times itself gives you 64, is going to be 4. So 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and we still need to do 4 squared. 4 squared is 16, so that gives us equal to 1 over 16. The next one then, it can't be, because we know a 16th is a decimal, it's not going to be a negative number. So the next one we can check is the decimal to work out if a 16th is 0.0625. So 1/16, we can work that out by doing 1 divided by 16. You can use any method for division. Think about a pizza. If you half it again, and then half it again, that's going to obviously split it into 16 pieces. So in terms of a quick calculation, if you didn't want to use any other method, you could use a half, so 0.5, and then half 0.5 to get 0.25, then half that again to get you 0.125, and then finally half it again to get you 1/16, which is 0.0625. So that's that. And then if we look at that then, so we've said already that we found the first two, and that is actually found as the third decimal. So the last one to look at is 1 over 32. So is a 16th the same as 1 over 32? Well, clearly not, using equivalent fractions, because if we times both sides by 2, that will be 2 over 32.